I'm John Stewart, president of the Florida Bar. I'm here with the Young Lawyers Division president, Santo DiGangi, and president-elect Adam White. We're here talking about the Young Lawyers Division for the 70th annual Florida Bar Convention, for the first time ever being held entirely virtually. So I want to start with you, Santo. This year's theme, looking back, moving forward. I know this has probably not been the year you envisioned. There's been lots of challenges. What would you say has been some of your biggest challenges, as well as some of the biggest successes that you and the Young Lawyers Division have had this year?
Thank you, John, for taking the time to chat with me and Adam. The YLD and the Florida Bar as a whole really faced some unprecedented obstacles this year, but the YLD, as always, was ready to adapt and find new ways to help both its members and the people of Florida. For better or worse, I really believe the coronavirus pandemic will completely shift the way we practice law moving forward, and the YLD is ready to face whatever lies ahead. That said, the YLD saw some great victories on issues that had their genesis at the YLD level. First, we saw the passing of the parental leave continuance rule by the Florida Supreme Court, a cause the YLD began tackling many years ago. And second, we saw the Florida Supreme Court lower the number of topics on the Florida bar exam. And that's a conversation that began at the YLD's annual Dean Summit. The Dean Summit is an opportunity for the Florida Supreme Court, the deans of all Florida law schools, and the Florida Board of Bar Examiners to come together and discuss issues that are affecting all the stakeholders there. And then it was just an incredible achievement to see the Supreme Court come down and actually reduce the number of topics on the bar exam, which was the concern of all those parties. Lastly, the YLD hosted its first ever Summit on Young Government Lawyers in Orlando back on November 1st. During the summit, we had government leaders across the state come together to discuss different ideas and incentives to better accommodate and promote young government lawyer involvement in both bar activities and in their communities. As YLD president, I am extremely proud of what we were able to accomplish this year and how the YLD was able to continue assisting its members by evolving as an organization to meet their needs, despite all the external factors that were impacting us.
Well, Santo, it's been a fantastic year for you. You definitely hit the highlights. The parental leave rule, it's not really a gender-specific rule. It's useful. I mean, it's important for all young families. So I think that's really a fantastic cause that you all were able to start, and we were ultimately able to see through. And then I really applaud you on bringing government lawyers into the fold. It's something that we continue to strive to do, to involve all of our members. And, sometimes there's been some disconnects with government lawyers, and we want to continue to open our arms and our doors to them. And so I really appreciate you taking that on and seeing it through to success. One item I'd like to specifically ask you about, since it's clearly dominated the last quarter at least, and maybe half of both of our terms, how has the YLD responded to the coronavirus pandemic, and where and what can young lawyers find in terms of information that may assist them in these challenging times?
When the coronavirus pandemic hit Florida, there wasn't a roadmap, but the YLD knew we needed to act and act quickly. And the YLD wasn't just focused on assisting its members and its lawyers across the state. We also wanted to help Florida residents with any COVID-19 related legal issues. For those residents, we work with bar leadership, including yourself, to expand the ABA Free Legal Answers program, which serves as a free virtual advice legal clinic for citizens to get answers to many of the questions that came up as a result of the pandemic, including landlord-tenant disputes, employment issues, and insurance issues. The YLD worked hard to solicit hundreds of attorney volunteers to answer these questions from citizens during the pandemic so they could get answers to their legal questions in their time of need and quickly. With respect to Florida lawyers, the YLD knew it was important to immediately provide resources to our members on best practices for working remotely. As offices started shutting down, you could sense the panic amongst lawyers about how they would continue to be efficient working remotely. So with this in mind, we updated our popular Technology Roadshow series and rebranded it to the Adaptable Attorney. and we shifted the focus on teaching our members the best technology available for remote work and how to use it. At the same time, we created 4 webinars on this issue, which provided our members with not only the information, but with free CLE credit. And all of those webinars can be found on our website, www.flayld.com, for you to view and learn and get CLE credit. And additionally, the Florida Bar main website, floridabar.org, has been incredible in collecting resources and information and putting it all into one spot for our members to be able to learn the latest Florida Supreme Court admin orders and other issues that are impacting our profession.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, one, I applaud you for all that you've taken on. It's been a lot for your board and for the young lawyers that have benefited, not just young lawyers, but benefited the lawyers in the state as a whole. And I absolutely agree that the Young Lawyers Division website and the bar's website, I think, are models around the country for how to disseminate timely and useful information in this really challenging era that we're in. And I appreciate you taking that on. So, kind of keeping with the theme, we've talked a little bit about looking back now moving forward with our incoming president of the Young Lawyers Division, Adam White. Adam, what are some of, the priorities that you're going to have the Young Lawyers Division focus on moving forward this year?
I think the first priority that we're going to have next year is building on the fantastic work that President DiGangi was able to do this past year, shifting the focus of our programming to meet the more virtual practice that we're all under currently. Not knowing when that's going to end and recognizing that there's going to be some other effects from that, I think we're going to focus our programming on giving our members the resources they need to continue their virtual practices. We're also going to look at the resources that they may need dealing with sort of some of the fallout from the pandemic, the most obvious being likely some additional financial resources to provide to our members. I think there's 2 other priorities that I'd like to mention. The first is going to be an emphasis on professionalism. As people have probably heard, the Federal District Court for the Middle District of Florida has granted both the YLD and the Florida Bar Professionalism Center a grant to develop some lasting professionalism programming for not only young lawyers, but also law students. So we'll be producing that over the next year. And then another priority we're going to focus on is diversity and inclusion, something that we've done for a long time, but putting some renewed focus on the fact that some of our membership struggles with feeling on the outside, and bringing awareness to that struggle so that we can bring those people on the inside, and to make sure that our initiatives and our programming, our resources are inclusive and are very representative of the 28,000 members that we have in our division.
Well, those are 2 big priorities. The Chief Justice candidate and I have both spoken a lot about professionalism and ethics in the digital age. The profession of law is not casual, but a lot of times our communications digitally can be, which can be misconstrued professionally and ethically sometimes. So I think that will be a tremendously valuable task for the young lawyers to tackle. And of course, diversity is always something that we're pushing. And I think that you all will be able to continue to push and help leadership really grow diversely, which is critically important to us. One of the issues that I know that you'll continue, but I want to go to President DiGangi for is sort of the YLD continuing its push for mental health and wellness. 5th year, I think, in a row that you've made May the Mental Health and Wellness Month. And so, Santo, if you don't mind, kind of just talk to us about what you do, why it's important to the YLD, and how you see it moving forward.
Sure. I think the first thing to keep in mind is that health and wellness comes in different shapes and sizes. There isn't really a one-size-fits-all. And specifically, Health and Wellness Month is viewed differently by many people. Some people view it as a focus on their physical health. Other people view it as a focus on their mental health. And some others view it as a focus on their family health. And the YLD doesn't discriminate. It believes everyone's view on health and wellness is important, and making sure that they become better people. And we wanted to make sure that we eliminated any stigmas associated with making yourself a better person. And that's really where the Stigma-Free YLD campaign started. And that's why we decided to keep it going, because it was such a success last year under President George. And we wanted to capitalize and build on it and expand the stigmas we wanted to tackle. Our videos, unfortunately, were cut short this year due to COVID-19, but we were able to release two. The first one dealt with the stigma associated with being a government lawyer and how government lawyers are sometimes viewed as second-class citizens in the legal realm, and how that's just completely unfair and unwarranted. And then the second video dealt with the stigma associated with the bar exam. And that was really important for the WildD to release, despite the COVID-19 pandemic in full swing. We wanted to release it in conjunction with the bar exam results coming out in April, because these law students, these law grads, were already in isolation. They were away from their family and friends. They had no support system if, unfortunately, they were to fail the bar exam. And we wanted to show them this video to say, listen, maybe you might have failed the bar exam, and that's awful. And we know you've worked very hard for this, but it's not the end of the world. You can still become a successful lawyer, a successful community activist, anything you want to be when you retake the bar exam and pass it the next time. I think in the wake of everything we've been facing as a nation in the last few months, we really need to make sure that mental health and wellness remains a priority in helping deal with many of the stressors they're facing, including whether it be personal, professional, or societal. And I know Adam will continue this with the WildD, and I know for sure President-elect, soon-to-be President Foster Morales, will definitely have a priority in mental health with a new helpline that she's instituted, and that I would urge all lawyers to take advantage of.
Yes, I think you've nailed it. I mean, I won't speak for Adam. We'll let Adam speak for himself. But President-elect Foster Morales, I've said in my speeches this year, was into mental health and wellness for lawyers before it was cool. And she's going to continue to promote that, which is going to be critical. And Adam, I imagine likewise, you all will continue to run with the stigma-free campaign and the mental health and wellness for lawyers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Stigma-Free WildD campaign was probably the most impactful campaign that the WildD has done, certainly since I've been on the board for 5 years. We heard from lawyers all around the state who reached out to us saying, thank you for doing this. Thank you for making people aware of the different issues. And thank you for providing me an example to allow me to finally go and seek help for whatever that individual lawyer's issue was. I know personally it helped me go after some resources that frankly I was not going after because I didn't have the examples that the campaign brought out. And we're going to continue that good work during my year. I think our focus is going to shift away from the awareness aspect of it and focus more on practical solutions. President DiGangi brought up one a moment ago, which is the Florida Lawyers Helpline. So we're going to promote that as much as we can. I think we're going to highlight the work that our local bar affiliates have done in their health and wellness programming, and then assess whatever other programming and resources that we can push out to our members to give them very practical solutions to whatever individual health and wellness issue that they might be having.
I think, I think that continuing that campaign and that awareness is never going to end. And, both with the Young Lawyers Division and with the bar as a whole. So I'm grateful to you all for continuing it. I'm going to ask you all both this question really quickly. I know that you both in your firms have some Florida bar royalty, so to speak. And so, I'll go to actually to Santo and then to Adam, but just, briefly give me an idea as to how you would recommend young lawyers get involved in the profession. It doesn't have to necessarily be with the Young Lawyers Division Board of Governors, but just in the profession. Santo?
Sure, and as you mentioned, I have the great fortune of working with past bar president Greg Coleman, who's been a tremendous mentor over the last 7 years I've worked with him. And my advice would be to start locally. I think you need to get involved in your local voluntary bar associations and meet people locally and help your local community first. And then you can start focusing on the Florida bar and the state as a whole once you've developed your grassroots locally.
Adam, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would have never have gotten involved in Florida bar if it hadn't been for former Florida bar president Alan Bookman suggesting it to me. I know after getting involved, it's been an extremely meaningful part of what I've done in my profession so far. It really helps me feel like I'm a part of the overall legal community because it helps me try to make an impact on making that profession better. I would encourage people to get involved not only at the state level through a section or a committee, but if they want to start out locally, and they want to know where, they need to go to our website, FLAYLDaffiliates.com, where they can see all of the voluntary bar affiliates in their area, what the initiatives that they're doing, when their meetings are, and can decide where they might be able to get involved in their local area.
That's great advice. You know, I just want to make it clear that you don't have to have a past president in your firm to get involved in the Florida bar or to get involved in the profession at all. I certainly didn't have one. And, you know, I really echo both of your comments. Getting involved in your local voluntary bar is so valuable on so many levels, just getting to know people, referrals, growing your practice, maybe finding a mentor, and that website that you all have set up to help young lawyers find those outlets is really fantastic. So as we start to wrap up here, I'm going to go to you, Adam, and then to Santo, just to, you know, you have anything you want to kind of say in closing as you get closer within a couple of weeks to your swearing in as president of the Young Lawyers Division?
Well, I greatly look forward to that. I'm really excited to get to work for next year. I think the last thing I'll say to young lawyers is that we are in difficult times. Our practice is changing quickly. But don't forget that you're uniquely qualified to adapt in our practice. You get the problems that nobody else wants to deal with because they're either too difficult or they don't have the time. So just know that you're up on the latest technology. You know how to tackle difficult problems and to be confident while you adapt to our ever-evolving legal practice.
Adam, I know that the YLD is in great hands coming up, and you followed in very large footsteps of President DiGangi, who had a fantastic year. So, Santo, anything you want to wrap up with?
I would just echo Adam's sentiments and remind everyone that the YLD was, is, and forever will be the workhorse of the Florida bar. I really view us as the change agents of the bar and making sure we're always moving and advancing our profession. You know, over the last year, I've had the great fortune of spending a lot of time with Adam, almost as much as my wife. But he really is one of my closest friends, and he really cares about the bar and the YLD. And the YLD is in very, very good, capable hands. And I'll always be there if Adam ever needs anything from me, which I'm not, you know, not stepping on toes, but always there as a resource, a sounding board. And I do want to take one last moment to thank you, President Stewart, personally. I know you've always believed and trusted in the YLD. Your roots are in the YLD as a past YLD president. And I just want to thank you. It means a lot to not only me, but the entire YLD that you've always, you know, had faith in our vision. And even though we've had some crazy ideas, you know, they always tend to turn out pretty well. And thank you for believing in us the whole way.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate really both of you. I mean, it's a tremendous sacrifice on your personal and professional lives, and you've given a tremendous amount to the bar. You've achieved great success. President DiGangi, you've had an amazing year. President-elect White, I know, will follow with another great year, and will work through the rebound and recovery of the post-COVID-19 era. So I just want to thank you all for joining me. I mean, the new virtual era is upon us, and I appreciate you all doing this for annual convention, and look forward to seeing how this all rolls out. It's a learning process for all of us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.